Okay, well, welcome everybody to the 12th episode of our DevOps Huddle. This is one in a series of webinars that we've done up to this point. The previous sessions will be viewable on YouTube, as well as this one post this event. Today we're focusing on Salesforce applications, the title being Keep Calm and Simplify Branches, Merges, and Org Syncs. This is based on a lot of feedback we've gotten from customers and prospects about the complex environment in developing Salesforce applications. I'm joined with a couple of my distinguished colleagues, Rajeshwar Rajendan, who's a lead software engineer, and Punitha Karyappa, who's a solutions architect here at Opsera. Both of them have deep software experience as well as Salesforce application experience, and we'll be doing some of our demo work today. So as we've been told by our customers, the life cycles of Salesforce app is very tedious, complex, and resource intensive. And in this episode, we're going to explore how you can automate your CI/CD pipelines to accelerate your app releases with greater quality and better security as well. In addition, we'll show you the visibility and powerful insights that enable you to elevate the efficiency and effectiveness of your DevOps teams in this environment. And then onto the focus of today's session. These are the key areas we're going to be honing in on through the demonstrations that you'll be seeing here shortly. Really simplifying the branches, mergers, and org syncs, automating the synchronization of all your Salesforce orgs, accelerating the build and test and deployment of your apps, easily detecting and deploying changes from other organizations in your code, democratizing the insights into your Salesforce development lifecycle as well, meaning giving people the ability to see dashboards down to individual performance levels in that life cycle, automating your pipelines without any glue code, and then showing how fast and flexible partial and full rollbacks can be in our environment. So Smita, I think I'm going to hand it over to Punitha. And
yes, thanks, Mike. Okay, as per the polls, we predicted that branching and merging conflicts is the biggest challenge which we see in Salesforce deployments. And this is a no-brainer, to be honest. And this is mainly because we have several work streams, several project streams where each one of us are following different ways of merging branches, and each business need is different. And there are several branching strategies which are unique based on each and every deployment lifecycle. So in Opsera, what we do is help with different features. We have independent tasks. Maybe Rajeshwar can chime in and explain how we can use these tasks to, help our end users to make sure these merge conflicts are more seamless and you can do a continuous deployment.
Sure, thanks, Punitha. So before we start talking about like the different tasks that Opsera supports in, probably I'll just go through the different, why we need a branching strategy. Basically, you need a strategy that helps or enhances basically the collaborating, making a faster, efficient delivery process or release cycle. And it's also quite core to integrating with any or all DevOps practices and tools that are, that helps with proper structure releases. So branching strategy, what basically defines how faster you can ship your code. And there are a lot of acclaimed strategies as well, like there are Git flows, GitHub flow, trunk-based, GitLab. There's been, over the past 10, 15 years, there's been a lot of research on that area as well. And in fact, like there's no right or strategy that any team should actually follow with. It all depends on the, there are multiple factors that basically define like a good strategy can be. So in fact, like it can be based on the size of your team, it can be based on the deployment frequency or the release cycles. And interestingly for sales use case, the way how you track those components in your branches. So, what we've seen, we have few customers, or we've known a couple of our from our colleagues as well, where users or the developers basically they tend to take a full org copy into your branch structure, and therefore define their branching strategies accordingly, where you have a multi-branch strategy. For example, like depending on the target environment that you have. For example, if you have a QA or a UAT or a prod environment, you have a corresponding QA, UAT, or a prod branch. But there can be cases where you don't usually have the entire copy of a node. Rather, you start from often or a scratch, an empty branch, and then based on the release cycle that you have a single release branch, and therefore you pull in all your components, whatever is part of yours, onto that particular branch. So there's not a perfect answer to what branching strategy that can use that can be used. And that's exactly what we are also, at Opsera, we have designed our tasks and pipelines all catered to the same way. So be it any different branching strategy, have defined certain type of tasks that can help, basically help sync your orgs, the components that are orgs into your branch, and likewise the other way around as well, of deploying your component from your branch to the org as well. So Pudita, since you know more about, this, since you've been working on Salesforce for almost like 10, 13 years, do you think, are the different practice strategies that you think has helped you better? And then probably we can.
What most of the practices where I have seen is we usually have a feature branch, the developer commits to the feature branch, and then you have the release management team who takes it from the feature branch and, merges it into a release branch. And then you maintain a release branch through the release lifecycle. And when you go live to production, you finally merge the release into the master branch. This is usually the trend I've seen, and it really works out well in all the different use cases. Of course, as you mentioned, there's no perfect way. I think it's all trial and error, but this is one of the most efficient, and it really delivers it resolves the problem which we have. And also, I think most of the cases where we have seen is having a VCS, a version control system, having a source of truth as your master or a release branch, not your org, is something I think is the way forward as per the best practices as well. So we are seeing this shift, and I think it's going in the right trend as well. Mike, could we go back to the previous slide, please? Okay.
I think we've also seen certain customers were having, daily releases as well. So that's also, one of the cases where, or a predominant case where, we have a customer who have a typical team of like close to 20, 40 developers, and they have daily releases. I mean, it's not just a single release over a day; it's multiple releases from the same project repository, and probably over there having a release branch might not be be a better practice strategy that can be followed, because you tend to create multiple release branches in that case, right? So what worked out best, and then where we kind of like proposed on having different branches based on the environment. So as and when a change gets tested in your lower org environment, it goes to the UAT environment, and once it's UAT approved and verified by the different side of the testing team, then it gets promoted to the prod environment. And in fact, the promoted prod environment, you merge it to a master or a main branch. So yeah, that worked out in that particular scenario. Yeah, as you rightly mentioned, there's no correct branching strategy. It all depends on how you would want your release cycles to be, and how big of your team is, team sizes and all that.
Yeah. Thanks, Rajeshwar. I think we also have another issue when we talk about merge conflicts and resolution. There's also a huge scenario that's happening right now, right? You have different development orgs based on the projects. And how do you promote back the code which was released by one developer branch to another org where the let's take an example of Sales Cloud and Service Cloud. They're doing two different implementations, but there's a high chance that they are working on common components like the account trigger or the asset trigger and so on. So this is where keeping the orgs in sync is also one of the key areas. And I think we have very interesting features in Opsera to do that. And it's a very common use case. And also there is another use case I have seen post-refresh org sync, wherein we refresh an org, but sadly, they are going to lose their in-progress development, right? So again, we need to make sure we get all the settings from production, but also we need to try and retain whatever was already pushed into UAT, or this is in case of UAT, or let's say development org has not been refreshed at all. Then you're really working in a very stale environment. So you run a refresh, but then there's a headache of, making sure you have to take a backup. And currently how most of them are doing is taking a local backup of all your classes and LWC components, and then you push it back once the refresh is done, which is really, time consuming and not really in compliance with the industry standards, right? So I think Rajeshwar, you can highlight on how we can do this in Opsera, using the tool.
Yes, yes. Before that, probably I'll add one more case. This is one of the, this is more inclined towards the branching strategy where you have, where you follow multi-branch strategy, where keeping a sync of your changes or basically promoting your changes from one target branch environment to another target branch can also be a bit tedious, where you have to typically what happens is a developer will do a feature branch out of the master branch, and then probably to promote their change to a dev org, or let's say a QA org, they basically merge their feature branch with the QA branch. Now, it becomes a bit more tedious when you have to merge your same feature branch with another target master branch, where you'll have to either cherry pick the components and then your commit, and then or else you'll have to basically create another feature branch from your the next target branch, which could be a QAT or a prod branch and so on. This can be a bit tedious if the developer is not quite clear about the JIT commands, or is not quite familiar with the the different CLI commands or the tools that are available in the market. So Opsera is also kind of inclined towards solving this use case with different other tasks that we have. I think probably Punita, once we show demo, I guess that would be the we can probably run through the different tasks and then walk them through. I think yeah, let's go to the next slide and then probably
yeah. So these are some of the key features which we provide in Opsera as a platform. I will quickly run through them. We have flexible deployment options like org-to-org deployment, git-to-org deployments, quick deploy, which is used extensively these days so that we don't spend our weekends running the validation, git merge conflict resolution, and metadata transformation. I think I want to really highlight on metadata transformation where, when we are deploying, let's say reports or let's say custom labels from one environment to another environment, you want to transform the data, for example, the email ID, which is at a developer email ID. But when you go to UAT introduction, you want to transform it into an actual end user email ID. This is something you can set up as rules, and you don't have to really do a post deployment activity in this case. Rajeshwar, you want to highlight on anything else on this flexible deployments?
Yeah, so we've been trying to incorporate most of the common use cases. Yeah, as Punita mentioned, metadata transformation is one of those where we kind of have a search and replace kind of a functionality where you, and that too, it's coupled with your DevOps pipeline as well. So as and when you are deploying, let's say as the same use case, as and when you're deploying a workflow email alert, if you want to change your email, going from one org to another org, you can just define certain rules, and that's it. We just take care of searching for that. But I mean, any such text that's already found as part of any metadata component. We basically replace them based on the rules that we define. Also, we have certain exclusion-based rules as well, where you get to exclude certain XML tags if you think are not quite needed as part of your deployment. For example, if you think that a particular profile permission for an FSL needn't be moving to a particular route, you can always define the rule, and therefore any deployments, even if you provide that particular permission, this rule would basically take care of removing the same. And also we've come up with an option of applying kube deployment as part of your pipeline as well, where we where as part of a DevOps pipeline, if you have a validate job, and if it basically provides an ID which is eligible for kube deploy over the same pipeline run itself as part of the deployment step execution, we basically make sure that we execute a kube deployment in case if it's eligible, and if not, we go with the regular deployment. So this way, it can help with the execution in basically decreasing a considerable time of deployment time, basically as part of your pipeline execution.
Moving on to the out-of-the-box integration, I think we really have interesting features there. I think I'll switch to the demo where I can highlight on all these out-of-the-box integrations and all the other things. So I'm going to quickly share my screen. Okay. So as we mentioned about git merge conflict, right? So in Opsera, we have an independent task where you can actually configure that which branch you want to actually merge your, from the org to the branch, and then run it as a task, and then select. It's like you have to select the components, just like how you create a package XML. And depending on that, you can go ahead and the system will provide you all the conflicts, and then you can go ahead and resolve the conflicts and make sure you commit to the Git branch. Let me quickly select Apex class. While we pull up the files, and since we're running short of time, I'll just quickly show. This is how our Git merge conflict resolution comes up. You can see here, let's take an example of, we are displaying the profile here, and there are 1, 2, and 3. That means we have 3 differences in this particular comparison. And then you can select which one you want to keep and which one you don't want to keep. And then depending on the selection, it'll take up the selected components and then commit to the Git branch. So this is how Git merge conflict works within Opsera. And I want to quickly switch to the pipeline. So this is how the pipeline configuration looks. And then when we move to the workflow, we have all the different steps which we configure within Opsera. So maybe Rajeshwar, if you would like to highlight any key features which we have here.
Yes, sure. So these are the this is a typical Salesforce pipeline template that we have. So it starts with your create package XML step, where we let you choose the components that you want to deploy, and then create a artifact out of it. That followed by the metadata transforming step, and then which helps you in performing a search and replace or exclude based rule based queries, and then it follows by the Salesforce code analyzers, which helps you in performing static code analysis. So we have a combo of both your PMDs rules as well as the ESLint rules that gets applied over the Apex pages. The Aura def bundles and the Apex pages. And then you can always have an out of the box integration with Jira or Slack or Teams to perform an approval gateway. So this approval gateway can be, in fact, like any of the steps that have been defined here can be moved in and around this pipeline step. So right now you can see, one click on an edit workflow. You can basically proceed with cloning a step by clicking on the copy button, or you can click an add step to add them. You can click on the down arrow or the up arrow to move them as well. So, it's totally up to the release managers or the dev team to come up with their own pipeline. It's quite easy. It's plug and play model. You can add your validation step, or you can choose to ignore those, and then straight away have the deployment step as well configured out here. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me quickly start the pipeline. I mean, what's interesting is there could be a scenario where the developers are not really using Opsera. They just give you an XML file to upload or a CSV file of the list of components. You can always, upload it from here, and then we translate it into a package XML format, and then retrieve the components from the org. Or also we also have this option of selecting the components, and there is a different filter options where you can select only the managed package cost components, the custom components, and then you have all the metadata types here. So let me pick up some of them. Apex class.
Yeah, when you select this, the upload feature helps you in basically, not letting you, in case if you already have a manifest file available as part of your previous execution, always download the same and then upload it over here. And we basically check whether those components that you've uploaded as part of your manifest or CSV file are present in the org right before you deploy as well. So that's an extra validation check that we perform. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, this might be really simple, but also interesting is we allow individual custom label deployments or custom labels where everything comes in one file. Let me quickly click on proceed.
Just real quick, Puneet, I forgot to mention at the beginning of our session that people can ask questions throughout the session. We'll also have time at the end as well. But if you have a question that you want to get answered while we're doing the presentation, please feel free to type that into the question window on your nav bar.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. So you can see that we have retrieved the components from the org, but also you can retrieve the same set of components which you have selected from the Git branch, which I have already pre-configured in this pipeline. So in the general use case, as we mentioned earlier, the developers can directly merge it to the Git branch, and then we can run the pipeline over the Git branch. So I'll go ahead and select one of the component and hit proceed. We can filter by component name and the custom metadata type. So let me see.
Putha, can you also show the different filter options that we have on the Git tab?
Yeah.
So yeah, we do also list the files based on the recent commits that have happened on a particular branch. So users can pick and choose their commit ID out here. They can filter based on the commit ID, and then or even based on the component name that we translate to from a given file, or even by the committed by time, and then they can filter those and then also proceed with selecting adding these components as part of the package.
Yeah, thanks, Rajeshwar. So I've selected this class and I'm going to hit proceed. And that's how the pipeline is triggered. Maybe Rajeshwar, you want to quickly highlight on the automated pipelines which we can have?
Sure. So we have, this is more about how you can manually trigger a pipe, but we also have certain ways to automate the whole DevOps process, wherein we do support scheduler-based pipeline invocation, where you can configure a scheduler and choose it to run on a frequent duration time. Or also we do support webhook commit-based triggering as well. For example, if you configure a webhook, let's say if you configure a branch, let's say a master branch, and as and when code is getting merged onto that particular master branch, if you want the pipeline to get started, you can always have the webhooks configured, and then depending on whenever the commit happens, we just basically only take the components that are part of those commits, and then create the artifacts based on that, and then execute the whole pipeline accordingly. We're also coming up with certain pull request based commits. These are mainly to, in case if you want to verify the pull request right before you perform a code review, if you want to perform a validation or a static code analysis, or even let's say perform a secret check against that particular repository, you can always, we're working on a particular pull request based commit hook, which helps in triggering the pipeline as and when you raise a PR, and then also mark the PR as eligible for review, or mark it otherwise to let the reviewers or the approvers know that it's good to be merged. Yeah.
Thanks, Rajeshwar. Before I switch to the next screen, I just wanted to highlight the static code analysis. We can have the complete report here, based on which the approval gateway can be triggered, and the person who's approving can review this. If there is an exception, they can approve it. Or also there is an option where we can literally stop the deployment if there is an exception. So this is out of the box, which we cater to. Moving on to the task where we have.
Apurva, can you also show the deploy step report? Sorry.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Yeah, that completes the whole pipeline. So
yeah, deploy. Yeah, so it shows all the components that were deployed. I'm just showing the previous one because the one I've triggered now is still running. And then it shows all the unit tests that were executed, the time it took, and so on. It has the complete report of all the components that were committed to the other org. So quickly moving on to the insights. So this is how our Salesforce insights look, and this is configurable and actionable. We have, this is something we didn't speak about. We will be talking about this in the future huddles, where we have a specific step called profile migration, which handles only anything related to profile, and also bulk migration. So this gives you an insight on how your deployments were, how long it used to take, have an in-depth actionable insights, which currently is not existent in many of the tools. And this is actually what helps you retrospect on what went well and how you can actually use these insights to make your deployments better and, basically have a very smooth release on the release day. So this is something I wanted to highlight. We will have an in-depth session in the future for Salesforce Insights. Do you want to add on anything to this, Rajeshwar?
No DevOps tool is complete without a proper analytics, or insights that gives you proper metrics as to how faster you can have your deployments completed, with lesser mean time to resolve the issues or deployment issues or build issues or anything like that. So we have come up with a lot of the insights that we've incorporated from the DORA metrics, and quite a lot of analytics being captured out here as well. So yeah, I think Punta, you've covered it much. Probably we'll dive deeper into it in the next session.
Yeah. Thanks, Rajeshwar.
Yeah, this is just to wrap up as far as what Opsera brings to the market. It's a powerful tool for the Salesforce environment, but also works well throughout the entire CI/CD pipeline, the full system or software development lifecycle. We've built tons of integrations. It allows you to provide a single pane of glass visibility across your entire pipeline, democratize those results, and then insights for KPIs across your organization down to the individual level.